Okay, hey everybody, it's Diane O'Brien again, your headhunting housewife here. This is session 6 of the 10-part series of how to become a home-based recruiter or headhunting housewife, and we covered a lot so far, and we're over the midway point, and we've figured out how to set up your home office and what you need to get started, where to market yourself, how to find a client. Now we have a client, we even have a contract in place. And it's funny, first of all, before I get in, this session 6 is about finding candidates, take a deep breath because this is the part, it's that whole hurry up and wait. And then, you're so hurrying and trying to get that contract. You finally get the contract and you're like, woohoo, I landed something finally. And then you just realize the fight's just begun, the wait to kind of actually close the deal and all the steps needed to get the job order. You've just completed, half the steps and you haven't really even started as far as the client's concerned. He just met you, you have a contract, and now you're starting the gig. So, congratulate yourself when you get the contract, break it with some champagne with your husband or your significant other, enjoy yourself. I think it's important just in life in general to celebrate those wins. Keep this process fun. If you go by step through step and just doing the due diligence, I think, and worrying about it, or maybe you get a little bit completed and you backstep a little bit, it just can just wear on you. I feel like just life in general. Make it fun, and when you have a win, celebrate the win. So I learned that, I think, back in my old sales days, right through, of course, then for recruiting, and then I tried to instill that in people that I trained and hired years later. And it's just important. So you got the contract, yay. So we're going to hopefully celebrate that. And now you wake up, you celebrate that, and you're at your desk, and you're like, oh my God, this is when the stress is going to really flood in for you because, you're contingent. So you realize there are other recruiters out there working that job right now, like day and night. First one that finds the candidate wins the prize, which is going to be your fee, whether it's $10,000 or $30,000 or higher, $100,000, which you'll get, probably not right away, much later, but those fees are out there in recruiting. So now those will be more retained, so you can take your time because you have only a true partner in those positions. But for contingent, you're against a clock at this point, and hopefully, I don't think I covered it in the last clips, but I'll have to cover it in material later as far as just, making sure you know who you're up against, how many other recruiters, just so you also know how to play the game a little bit when you're submitting people. If you are the only one, you can be contingent and still exclusive, which you'll want to work to. But for now, let me just focus on you need to find candidates regardless of what your terms are at this point. So how do you do that? Well, we already started with the Monsters and the LinkedIns. We'll focus on those two since they're the main ones. And of course, in the regular internet with Google, that's probably more for executive search if you're doing that because usually you can't get press releases on a basic accountant or medical nurse or sales rep. You can do that for CEOs or VPs. So for you, you're going to find a lot of your people out there in the internet using your networks, using the LinkedIn, using Monster. And like I mentioned before, in finding the candidates, again, this will probably be a multi-step series. There's no way I'm keeping this under 5 minutes, just like the client side. This is basically the whole business, the client and candidate. But you're going to find a rhythm. And if you had experience in this, you'll be a little bit further ahead. If you're brand spanking new to it, your life, you're going to live, eat, and breathe resumes, but not maybe in the way you think. You're not going to be, studying each one and looking for the little details in the backgrounds. You're going to be perusing resumes, looking for certain things in every one, so you can really run through hundreds in a day to see who you want to take time to speak to. Remember, what you're going to do here, this will be multi-steps. You first find the person on paper or on the internet. Once you find them, and you want to find a bunch of them that meet the job description, then, and the job description, so we haven't talked about that yet, will come from the candidate, or I'm sorry, the client. So you've got the client, they'll send you over a job description of what you're looking for, or you might help, devise it as well, and I can speak to that more later. But anyway, you have the job description. So to find the candidates, when you're looking at the resumes online or people's backgrounds, you have to find the people that seem to be a good fit. But you also need to be smart and really read between the lines. The good recruiters aren't just looking for the objective fits, but you're looking for culture fit. You've gotten to know the company a little bit now, what they're looking for. Your first few candidates that you send to them probably won't be a fit, but you need to speak with the client to understand why they're not a fit. That's going to kind of calibrate the search and hone your skills in a little bit to figure out, okay, what are they exactly looking for that's not written on the paper? And basically your days, and it'll be weeks. So we're talking, even if you're working full-time hours, I said this could be a part-time job, but when you're starting something new, hopefully you're so energized by it, it's going to take up all your time. So, but at any rate, you're going to just be living, eating, and breathing on the internet, looking up people, and you want to have a good process in place. First, take time the first few days to just go through resumes, find the good people who you want to speak to before you make that first phone call. And the reason I say that is if you're not very consistent with how you plan your time, you'll find yourself, maybe thinking that, say this morning you want to have like 3 or 4 good candidates. If you find just one on a resume and then call them up and get into like an hour conversation, that really sucks your time away. Versus if you just save that resume and keep your job search on, keep going on the Monster, utilizing that really well, or looking on the LinkedIn through all the people available, and then taking notes. I used to always have a spiral notebook next to me of where I was leaving off in the search. And wait, a couple days before you start making those first phone calls. You're really doing your job, your due diligence, going through all the resumes that are out there, scanning them quickly for the basics. Some of those quick basics being, when they graduated, looking for job hops. You don't want a job hopper. You want at least one that's, at least a few years each job. However, unlike the old days when you wanted someone that was at one job their whole career, that's different nowadays. People often that move up through their career are moving every few years or so, if they're going up for more money or within a different industry or just growing. So as long as you can see the progression is of promotion and not decline, then that's fine. And in fact, when you speak with them, you'll get a lot more in-depth information as to why the moves. That's what you'll be covering. But right now you're just looking at the dates, making sure it's not like a year here, year there, year here, like all different things. Make sure it's within the same industry, hopefully, or at least a few years there, and then jump to something else that could help as a promotion. Let's say it was salesperson to sales manager to national accounts manager to district manager, to general manager. Jumps like that every year is awesome. That wouldn't be a negative, versus if it was someone starting at general manager, then going down to branch manager, and they're ending at, something lower. You don't want to waste your time, depending upon what you're looking for. So I'll keep this, simple and sweet to candidates in doing that search for them. I'm going to do just like I did for the client side, and this is session 6. Was it session 5? I'm going to do, this is session 6. Session 6, like maybe an A, B, or C on the candidate side, because there's a lot more information to give you here. And not only during when you're searching the resumes, but then your first phone call to them, to then your second follow-up call. And then just like the client side, this will be a process where we'll be touching in between client, candidate, because the whole thing is leading to being a matchmaker a bit. You're going to be then introducing them, and you're going to be helping schedule them, have a meeting. And there's a lot of strategy in that for you as a recruiter to helping kind of run that ball home and to kind of get the deal closed. It doesn't happen without you. And that's why they pay you a lot of money. If they could do this on their own companies, they would. Even with human resources that they have internally, they still can't get it done because they don't have enough time, where your job is going to be to nurture that little relationship. And it's going to be like dating for them. When you find your candidate finally and introduce them, they're going to have all kinds of feelings and emotions, and you want to kind of play both sides for them to see where the candidate feels and what the client feels, and talking to both of them about their concerns, and you can help alleviate those concerns. And you want to take this all the way home to an offer being made, and at that point you need the offer accepted. So there's a lot of little tidbits of information you'll have to learn on the candidate side. And but again, I'm over time, so that's it on candidates. And follow me through for whether you're going to go deeper into candidates, which would be like, I guess, 6B or 6A, how we label that, or go straight to session 7. So I will talk to you soon.